a predetermined choice point message for 144. I'm Geeia Ariati. I'm the coach of the Matrix. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to this online transmission, this live education, and little sharing around some of the information that we tend to ignore within our own life experience. And I want to show you how quick, how powerful, and how uncomfortable it is when we stop listening to spirit. Even those of us that have been listening to spirit day in, day out can and do fall off their highest path. And so that is where this information comes from, is basically that I received very clearly through 3 hours of travel and through what we might call astral travel or an altered state of consciousness, that provided some information of which was not new for me. It was just reconfirmation of a point of time that needed to be expressed and shared. And I have been guided about a week and a half ago every day to show up and do a YouTube video. To show up and do a YouTube video for my own integrity, to my timeline, to my highest path, but also to the collective mission, because my mission is your mission. And what we're here to bring together is a journey that we're all on. And so what I want to reintroduce is that we can fall off our timeline in the smallest of moments of what is perceived. Now, I often am asking my initiates and individuals that I'm mentoring, are you on your highest timeline? And they don't think to even ask. It becomes an aspect of, I didn't even realize. When did I fall off? When did I go off my highest timeline? Now, to discover and know when you're on your highest timeline. Okay, well, you know that you're on your highest timeline when you are experiencing clarity, when you are experiencing ease. You know that you're on your highest timeline when you can have a direction or knowing of your forward expression. You know that you're on your highest timeline when you are able to align to synchronicities, to numbers, to different messages. When you hear, when you see, you know that you're on your highest timeline when there's a level of ease and grace. Now, if you've been on this journey for a long time, or in a level of discipline and devotion like I have, then sometimes you are always on this level of seeing the messages and the synchronicities, that there's a level of fine tuning that's required. So your highest timeline, what you might call meters or markers, you will need to renegotiate with yourself depending on your level of consciousness, because what seemed like your highest timeline in the past might be different to the new evolved state of consciousness that you're functioning from. So, for instance, being an oracle and having awareness of the future, when I stop seeing the future, has been a awareness that I'm off my timeline. But now that I'm so integrated in my oracle, I can see the future and still be off my highest timeline. I can see into the collective consciousness and the pathways and the different patterns, and see in the forefront, because I am now the solidified oracle. I am the solidified prophesy. So this means that that's not a marker for me anymore, that I've stepped off my timeline. Now, what becomes apparent when we step off a timeline and is there's an area within ourselves that we're not wanting to move through. So you might call this a block, you might call this an area of identity that you don't want to dissolve or collapse or transmute into a healed state of wholeness. You might find that it's a part of your experience that you're avoiding based on a skewed perspective or belief system. It might just be because it's too hard and you're used to the easy way, and the easy way is not necessarily actually the easy way. But whatever your reasoning is that you step off your timeline is probably going to be a consistent one until you heal and alchemize it. And so what that means is that you are unable to experience your path in clarity. And I'm just going to take a pause in a moment. For anyone that is tuning on live, can you just let me know around sound? Because I'm not getting a whole heap of views in relation to probably the time, but also just worried my mic might not be working and I have no one to test it. So if you are watching live, can you please let me know if the sound is is working or not? Otherwise, I will refocus and pause this and come back with a new stream. Good, beautiful, wonderful. All right, so in relation to your highest timeline, it is really important to become clear around what your definitive marker points are. So for me, it now comes to a point where creation. So because my focus of my current initiation is to create, if I'm not creating, then I'm off my path. Right? If I'm not feeling a sense of orgasmic joy, then I'm off my path. Now, those are the two really loud things that I know I am off my path if I'm not in that. Now, I might be connected, I might be having downloads, I might be in service, I might be having all of these things, but I'm not doing it in this way, then I'm off my path. And so, what brought me off my path to even sharing this video is that I didn't want to share the video that wanted to come through that was on my highest timeline. And so that of Wednesday, I spent 3 hours ethereally in an experience that confirmed something that I didn't want to share with you guys. I didn't want to give you this message. Why? Because I had a belief that I have to keep it secret to keep you safe. I don't want to create a negative emotional response. I didn't want to share something that could be misconstrued by the mind that cannot perceive truth. So there was all of these layers of, well, I don't really feel like they're ready for that. I don't feel like this is conducive. And so I had to move through only by recognizing, because I didn't know that I didn't want to share this. I had the 3 hours um, of this experience where I was partaking in something that's very important and very present to where we're going and what has already been predetermined. And I'm going to speak into that predetermined aspect soon. If you didn't see it, there is a channel before I went offline that talks about predetermined choice points, and these are fated, they are unchangeable. And it's around a predetermined choice point that I was like, I don't want to do that, Spirit. Why? Now, I wasn't even aware of the resistance that was in me. I just thought that I got busy. I just thought that when I got to the end of the day, that it wasn't true and I could do a video tomorrow. I didn't look deeper. I just felt, yeah, okay, we're not doing a video today. Why didn't we do a video? Because I stepped off my highest timeline, and off my highest timeline, there was no videos. On the timeline I was on, I didn't have to show up on a video every day. So it wasn't there. I didn't even think that I was doing anything out of accordance with my soul or my spirit because it was aligned with that path. I didn't have to do a video on that path. The path that I've traveled for the next 2 days has been a little more uncomfortable than my joyful, orgasmic experience, than my creative capacity, right? When I create, I love creating. I'm a creator being. You love creating. If we're not creating, then something's up, right? So I wasn't wanting to. YouTube seemed like hard work. I didn't want to write. I didn't want to share on my socials. Now that's not the true essence of who I am. I want to share this shit. I do. I love it. So it showed me a very definitive point that I didn't want to come on. And so I've been off path for 2 days, and I had to look at that and deconstruct it and find out when I realized that I was off my path, because things start to go wrong, right? Things don't necessarily go wrong straight away when you go off your path. You might not notice it until 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the track, where you start to see things steadily decline rather than expand into more and more ease and grace. When you are on your highest path consistently, things become so easeful, so graceful, so expansive, so symbiotic, because that's how our unified self lives. That's actually the truth. It's only when we're pulling ourselves on and off, on and off, on and off. And I witness this all the time. And in all honesty, I wasn't on my path for the last 5 months. I was on my partner's path. And that was a pretty gnarly experience, but it was for the good of the entire human race. So this is where we can also not judge or shame it. It's like you are gathering exactly the tools, exactly the material, exactly the experiences, exactly what is required for you to complete your mission. Now, I did that, and I'm sure many of you have at different times stepped off your path to accelerate something that in the long run had a greater contribution, in the long run had more ease and grace, in the long run was more blissful. By stepping off my path, we accelerated his path to catch up to my path, which means that our paths now run together with ease and grace, which was a hard and gnarly initiation. But it was necessary because I honestly didn't want to go the long way. I didn't want to go the extra year and a half. And that through that journey, it wasn't my truth. And so my truth was to step out of my truth to get back to my truth. And so that's how tactful, tricky our monads are, our higher selves, our souls, our inner being. And so with this, I didn't effectively want to be here sharing this because I had a mutated perspective, not for the greater good of the whole, simply because there was an aspect of information around predetermined choice points that I didn't want to divulge to you. So if you missed the title of this video and you've come in late, the title of this video was Death of a Loved One, Predetermined Choice Point, Message for the 144. And what's led me here to share this message is exactly the pre-frame. I stepped off my path because I didn't want to share this. On Wednesday, I spent, apologies, on Wednesday, I didn't share this message. On Monday, I spent 3 hours ethereally handing out what we would call exit passes. Now, what is an exit pass in this reality? An exit pass is a permission slip or a consent or an agreement that you can exit your human experience, that you don't have to stay in the human experience, regardless of whether you've done your contract, your mission, or your assignment, and what you agreed to have a physical human body. And so with that, there is a requirement. You can't just choose to leave without a collective agreement or a whole uh, a, a recalibration or a renegotiation of your contracts agreements, right? So you can't just, as a bringer of change, as the 144, you can't just go, yeah, I'm done with Earth, I'm out, right? You actually have to go through ethereal stages of consent and permission. You came here to proceed with a mission and assignment. You told God, Creator, the total one mind, your team, your soul family, that you're coming for this reason. And now you're not keeping your end of the bargain. It's kind of like a job interview, right? You go and get a job and you have a job description. And if you don't show up on time, if you have too many sick days or you don't do your job, then you get in trouble, right? And it's very simple in that way of you came here, you got a physical body, and there were certain agreements that were made that you were to have your human experience based on these conditions. And that's because we aren't human. We're not here to be human, and we have to get a consent from upper realms to come and be human. So with this awareness, there is a couple of things that happen. If you decide that you no longer want to be a part of the divine plan or the organic created new earth timeline, then you need to go through and renegotiate with all of the people that you chose to be a part of the team, their mission, all of those roles that you're playing, all of the things that have been a thread through your soul's blueprint, because it's not just you. It's never just about you, which is why when you meet someone like me who's very passionate about this experience, it's because I'm like, this is so much greater than me and you. Like, get over yourself, get over your ego and your identity, and see the grand scheme of things. You, as a tiny speck, have a huge impact on the overall experience. And so I can get very heated and passionate and fiery about that. Now, this means that with this awareness, if you've got someone who's continuing to stay in the human identity, in the service to self, and is not evolving and decides it's too hard and doesn't want to do it and actually wants to leave Earth and go back to wherever they came from, that needs to be restructured within the entire experience, right? Because you can't just have someone plucked out of the experience and not see the ripple effect of what that creates, right? What if your divine counterpart was just like, yep, no, fuck it, I'm done. There may not be another divine counterpart that has even been included or contracted as a backup, because that might just be something. And what if your mission, right? What if your mission is absolutely you need a divine counterpart? There are things and assignments that need other individuals. We cannot do it alone. And so with this awareness, these exit passes are agreements to leave. They are agreements of whether or not you were contracted for the original Passover. So the Passover, some might have references to the Bible and the, I can't remember the word. I wanted to say the electrolytes, the Israelites, and the Passover being that of the exodus of mass group of souls, right? So this Passover that we're currently about to experience, we're not in it. We're in the stages of preparation before. We're in the exposure project. We're in the unraveling. We're in parts of the revelations. But the Exodus aspect is not here yet. It is coming. And this is a fated, predetermined choice point. It is non-negotiable. There is a certain amount of souls, numbers, geometry, frequency, light, color that requires transmutation and shifting. And there are many souls that have come and they've been completing and finishing their assignment, and they were contracted to leave. There are many souls that have not finished their assignment and are contracted to leave. There are many souls that have not finished their assignment and were contracted to stay. So there is multiple ways that you could see this. There are so many different interpretations of how this has been unfolding. And with that, there is awareness that this is far greater than one lens. You can't look at it from just here. You have to look at it from here, from here, from here, from here, from here, from here, from here. It is a multifaceted, multi-perspective experience. It is not one way is the right way, this way is the true way, or this perspective shows me the entire vision. It can't be that until you can sit in the middle and start to see all realms. And in this reality, you need to see three perspectives to be able to see truth, 3 dimensions. Then you are able to unlock and come into that center point, that true way, that true north, which is the north. It's the center of the medicine wheel. It's the middle of the compass. So this predetermined point, which we're going to say death of a loved one, has multifaceted reasons. And the individuals that were originally exiting, some of them have chosen to stay. The ones that haven't completed their assignments may also be choosing to leave, or they're getting new assignments and choosing to stay. There are individuals that have completed their assignments and wanted to stay originally that have decided that they want to leave. So this is bringing the numbers, which is actually the souls, so the amount of numbers of souls, and I'm going to give you the total. And it's also not one lens fits all, right? I can't say that it's this amount of souls just in the 144 because it's not, because we've got the 144, we've got the 666, we've got the 199, we've got the bringers of change, we've got the collective whole. We've got star seeds and all kinds of mixed matches. So you can't determine in the full accuracy because we are human beings and we don't have the capacity of our brain function to even do that. But the total souls in numbers of spirit, so we will say a spirit spark that is passing over during this period, is 60,249. Now that's a lot of souls. But I can't give you a definitive timeline because with contracts, what happens is you can either, if with fate, with a predetermined choice point. Now, this video I will link to the end of this, and I will put it in the descriptions around this and the channel so that you can receive this. How many do you have? I have 7 in my future. My partner has 3. Now, one of them is one, there's things that if I tell you now, you're going to think I'm crazy. It's all right. I am crazy to the insane mind. But some of these predetermined choice points, right? So they are different things that I've been visioning for years and years now. And I know that they're fated. I know that no matter what I do, I will line up to that. But when? Right? When? And I can give you an example of one of them. One of my fated predetermined choice points that I was not going to be the primary carer of my children. No matter how much I manipulated that, no matter how much I tried to be healed enough to find a partner to help me support them, to work through, to be able to be on mission and parent, it was predetermined. I pushed it, I pulled it, I pushed it, I pulled it, until eventually the only thing to do was to surrender to it and let it unfold. So a predetermined choice point has a date, but we can move that. That's where it becomes choice. That's where it becomes changeable, is we can pull it closer or we can push it away. Now, if we look at the tipping point in the evolution of humanity in the form of a deluge, we've been pushing that away for quite some time. We haven't been pulling it closer. We've been going, yeah, no, not ready, not ready. We're going to push that all the way out here. And that's why we are overdue for what we would consider natural evolution to the human species and the earth. Now that is something that we have the power to do because we are powerful beings. If we go, yeah, no, we're not doing it, then you're going to keep pushing it. But you can eventually, the push will have a fling back, right? Like anything, the further you separate, the further separation point, you have to turn back in. There's no other way. That's what the infinity symbol is, right? The center point is union. That's the 0 and the creation point. And then you go out, and that's the further separation point. You can't stay there forever. You can't stop. You can't stop evolution. You can't stop change. You can't stop consciousness. You can't slow it right down. And then it has to come back in on itself, right? So this is what a fated, predetermined experience is you have the power to push and pull it or to choose if it is true as a date. Now, when we're talking about the predetermined choice point, which is of the 144 collective, and I'm going to explain what this is and why we have chosen it. As the 144, we've chosen a collective choice point that is called death of a loved one, not for the loved one, but for ourselves. So the death of a loved one has provided some kind of transformation for the one that remains on the earth. So there are beings that have come here to just be vessels of light. There are beings that have come here to just be antennas for frequency. There are beings that are here for a very specific point of time and then leave, right? There's so many different interpretations of that. But this choice point is not about the ones leaving. It's not about whether they have or haven't done their mission. It's not around whether they have or haven't anchored their frequency. It's not about that. It's about the fated aspect of the person that was contracted for the loss. The person that was in the arrangement to the grief process. The person that loses their child. The person that loses their beloved. The person that loses a fellow brother and sister, right? Their parent, mother or father. Now, that it's not about the person that's being a part of this exodus or the great Passover. It's about that individual that is staying there. And those individuals that are contracted to this, you may already know. You might know since the time that you had children that you're going to lose a child. Now that's uncomfortable. I have that. I can maneuver it. Definitely have. I can play with clearing ancestral things and contracts and all of those things because I want to see a different way from my human lens. But ultimately, there is something deeply important in that loss for me. And I know for me, in relation to this, I have two. I've got a loss of a child and a loss of a beloved or a fellow sister. So there's two losses. Now, in my human experience, this incarnation, the only individual that I've lost has been my grandfather that I wasn't close to. And at the time, I didn't have a connection to feeling. I was so disassociated that it just was what it was. And I didn't actually, and I still don't. There's never been anything I needed to grieve. I didn't have a soul connection with him. So I watched my family go through the grief, and I was in the grief, and sure, I cried, but there was nothing that was there for me in deep loss or healing or journey or awakening or ascending or that point of view or that human experience that unlocks something that I have effectively forgotten. Because each and every experience in the human realm, whether it's an abusive partnership, whether it's failing at a career, they all have gifts and keys and codes on the other side. So if we've experienced everything other than one or two things in our life, those to be unified, to truly be unified in the fullness, is to experience all things and come to full God Source Creator presence with them, whether in this incarnation or in others. Now, I have definitely experienced this grief in previous lives, but I didn't do so well. I went into revenge. So I haven't come to the unity point of losing a loved one, losing a child. And so I can see that circle, right? And it's not karma. It's soul development. It's soul evolution. It's transformation. And so this death of a loved one predetermined phase has basically been arranged for the current now choosing, the current now focus. And so some of you might be, yeah, I'm actually that person that's leaving. Or some of you might be aware of those that are leaving as a gift for you. And I know that's challenging. That's very hard for the human to see death as a gift. We have attachment to life. We don't see eternal life. We don't see the next journeys beyond this physical experience. And so it's confronting. It's uncomfortable. It's one of the harder areas of this as a resolution. So as you're receiving this awareness, I'd love you to sit in deciding and knowing, right? Knowing, so that you don't have to do something silly like step off your path because you don't want to process it. You don't want to speak to it. You don't want to move through it. And see, am I someone who's going to lose and go through this collective choice journey, evolution, frequency, transformation, more unconditional love, connection, devotion, whatever it is that is being provided? Or am I the gifter? Am I gifting? Because leaving this experience is not something to shame, to wrong. It's actually gifting something. As you exit, you are providing a new life for someone that does want to come to the human experience. New souls get birthed all of the time. We have the golden children that are sitting in the ethers preparing for their transcended mother and father, right? Mine's not here yet. Not. I'm actually, that wasn't a wink. I know some people have thought I'm pregnant. I'm actually not. but, but, but I am preparing. So I'm preparing like everyone for what's to come. I'm preparing for the golden ages. I'm preparing for the new earth timeline. I'm preparing for the shift and the tipping point. I'm preparing for new creations, new community, new tribe. That means influxes of souls and also a mass exodus or Passover. And that Passover is predetermined. It's written in history, it's written in scripture, it's spoken about by the prophecies. It is coming. How much are we going to push it, or are we going to allow those in our direct vortex to give us that gift and to also receive their truth? Because sovereignty is instated on this planet now. We are sovereign beings. When we became an old earth, new earth paradigm, we became sovereign, reinstated, back here. Universal laws changed. Same frameworks with also clauses. So the manipulation, the trickery, and the previous agendas can no longer be obstructive to our sovereignty. You're sovereign. I'm sovereign. If you don't like what's happening in your experience, it's because you're actually choosing it from your sovereignty, whether you realize it or not. And so with the sovereign choice and this shift, recognizing, okay, sovereign leaving, sovereign staying, sovereign grieving, sovereign gifting, receiving, what is it that it's actually going to teach me, right? Now, the reason that oracles and prophecies share the future is so that you then can alchemize out the pain, the suffering, the distortion, the inversion, the mutation, the manipulation before that time arrives. So for me, so many times I was shown things and I was like, this is going to happen. They're doing this. This is going to arrive. And that happened a lot. And I didn't embrace it then. It took me time, adjustment, grief, working through things and doing the work to allow myself that when it did manifest, I was like, I knew that was going to happen. And I was at peace. It didn't hurt as much. Some things I'd completely alchemized that when they arrived, I was like, okay, I can see, I understand, I know why. Because I was able to process it and alchemize it and move through it before the point of actualization, before it manifested into my physical experience. So with this, wherever you're sitting with this, if you've received exit pass on Monday, perhaps you even know, right? Or you might know. I know that my daughter, although not consciously, she was aware of what took place and how it was going to affect her. Now, that's not something that I can have a conscious conversation with because she's not at a level of ability to receive me. She doesn't understand anything that I talk about because she comes and functions from a different paradigm, which is very much within the mainstream reality at the moment, living from an open heart. And that's perfect. That's fine. She's choosing to be in this experience. She's choosing. It's just the perspective she's choosing from and where she's experiencing herself. And so there are going to be individuals that are going to be aware of what took place on Monday, where these exit passes were gifted out and things were rearranged. But if you're the individual that is choosing to learn through this death of a loved one, predictive choice point, predetermined, then What is it giving you that you don't have now? What would the end goal of that initiation, what would that transformation, that healing provide? Can you own it, bring it, and hold it now? Can you find that peace so that it's easier on all, so it's easier on you, so that you can become that embodiment now? That it's not such a shock, so it's not so devastating, so that you can support those in your awareness in your field that are not as conscious, that don't have the tools. There's going to be a lot of human beings on this planet that do not have the tools for what is coming, which is why I'm here sharing this, because you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have sat here for 35 minutes having a conversation with me about this. You wouldn't have received this. You have the tools. Therefore, you are responsible. Therefore, you need to take ownership and look at how this affects you and how this affects the overall path forward for humanity. That's a part of being a leader of creation. That's a part of being a bringer of change. That's a part of being someone who has expanded so much in their awareness and brought so much of their spirit into form, is that you actually are the one that's responsible for those that don't have the awareness, that don't have the choice, that cannot see the path. So with that, I'm going to leave some of these other numbers as I don't feel they're appropriate, but there are numbers for each section of child, mother, father, fellow brother, fellow sister, that and beloved. So there are sections, which might help you to interpret and understand why. Why would you perhaps be losing a child? Why would you lose your beloved? Where is there a codependency or a fulfilled need? Where is there something that's taking place? What is the truth of it? What is the gift? What is the pain point? And start to alchemize that. Start to provide yourself and that individual that has got this pass, that has got the exit pass. Because as I was saying, you can hold on. You can prevent someone who wants to leave leaving, which creates pain and suffering for all. I've witnessed this within my own family. I witnessed this where someone who was ill stayed for an extra 3 years because the other person couldn't let go and made out it was about them. It wasn't. It was about the selfishness of not wanting to heal and let go. That's not fair. It's what happens, but it's not fair. If you enjoyed this transmission, please like and subscribe, share with someone who may need to hear it. And if you would like to receive any direct channels, extra support as we transition through the next 2.5 years of this tipping point evolution, then please join our community. It's called Bring the New Earth Tribe, where we have direct channels. There's a lot of transmissions, DNA upgrades, all things multi-dimensional, a lot of tools on how to connect with your intuition and receive. There is channel specific questions for your path, receive that direct expression of source intelligence through, where you basically come with whatever it is that you want to know and you get the answer. Um, Also, 2-hour sessions in full quantum recalibration, ancestral clearing, past life journeying, looking at your multidimensional selves, bringing back mission, directive, purpose codes, all the things. Or you can do a quick quantum leap in a 30-minute DAC Trinity process. DAC is the modality that has been brought forth through me, from me, to assist the holistic transformation of the human psyche, which is finding an area that you either want to create or an area that you would like to alchemize and collapse, so that you can function in a completely new reality. If this sounds good for you, please visit my link tree or send me an email at support at GeeiaAriati.com. Love you.